lendlela esihambayo oh yinde lendlela esihambayo.
True or false, did the ANC betray Jacob Zuma, or is it Jacob Zuma who had betrayed the ANC? Former President of the Republic of South Africa, President Jacob Zuma, once said that there is no one who's bigger than the ANC.
No one. Don't provoke us too far. Don't. If the ANC is weak, they weakened it when they were the leadership of the ANC. It's a simple ABCD kind of politics. And these people who are leaders don't understand it. Some are doing it, by the way, in a very clever way. Some are running institutions. They are making their institutions to be the launching pad of the missiles against the ANC. And we are seeing it. We are keeping quiet because we are disciplined. They are cowards to come here and argue their point of view. They're just causing an unnecessary irritation. And we may not tolerate this for too long. They must sit and keep quiet. Because we don't want to talk about them. Because to us, they're important, they were given important positions. How they perform is not our story. Some of these comrades still call themselves ANC. Why are they not in the branches to raise those issues? Or use other means to address those issues with the leadership? Why go to the media?
Ifeda said again, the ANC and I will die in the ANC. Why that is not the case today? Why Jacob Zuma decided to leave the ANC, which he had sacrificed his entire life for, in order for him to have his own political party, the MK Mkonto Wezizwe political party. Well, in this video, we're going to have a proper answer to this question. But we're not going to have this answer on our own without listening to the man himself as he gets to explain some of his reasons that motivate him to leave the ANC. Jacob Zuma described the current ANC as the ANC of Bogogo. In other words, the ANC of grandparents. For what reasons? Well, in order for us to understand all this very well, we have to listen first to this interview which Jacob Zuma had given to one of the international media, as he get to explain his reasons why he left the ANC in order for him to create his own political party, Mkonto Wezizwe political party. Let us have listen, then we'll be back with more analysis.
I don't want to tell you many other things. Being the former president, I was in a conference where I pulled my hand to make a contribution, and deliberately I was avoided until I could not put across what I thought. That was not the ANC. In the ANC, every member had the right to speak his mind or her mind. That's no longer the ANC I can talk about. So I don't want to dwell in those because it will make me discuss too many other things that are not that important.
Okay.
Because what I'm trying to say is that the reason why I took a decision is because the ANC was no longer the ANC I knew.
So what is the difference?
I could no longer put an opinion, even if when I put my opinion, it was put aside. And therefore, that is not the ANC. That was not the believing of the ANC that you can be deprived of your views as it is. I wouldn't want to get into that because the point I thought it was important was to say we reached a point where you could no longer do what you were doing when we were ready to die, because we were no longer allowed to speak. The kind of leadership that emerged were wrong leadership. Perhaps if you'll be still around when I write my book, you must read it. I might be saying more things in details. What happened to the African National Congress of Tambo Mandela.
So what is the difference between the ANC then and the MK party?
No, before getting there, I want you to head it nicely, because you just know that and not know any other thing. I made all the efforts. I did not just walk away from the ANC, because I still wanted to correct it, because it was an organization I trusted. But the people who were leading were no longer interested in that. They were doing another type of running of the country outside the serious policies of the ANC. And I could not stomach it.
Is that the current leadership of the ANC that you speak of, that you're referencing?
Absolutely. I'm
Okay.
speaking of them. Speaking of them, it's just 2 years I've left them. If not two, I'm getting to the second year, first year. That is what I'm talking about. They moved off the policies, the things that the ANC was established to do. And they were no longer listening if we wanted to say, can you put this thing right? I then took a decision to continue fighting for a complete free South Africa, because the ANC was no longer the ANC. We now call it Gogo. You know what it means.
Grandmother.
Grandmother, exactly. Because, in other words, implementing the policies of the ANC was no longer the issue. The issue was to reverse it, including the poorness in the leadership itself. What they were saying, what they were talking about was no longer what we know. But there are good things we may not understand. Because if we talk about government of national unity of today, we are talking about many things that happened even before the ANC chose to take the enemy to be the comrade. Because if we jump, and I don't think we are going to get what I would want to, why I took a decision. The decision I took is not a small decision, it's a serious decision. I wouldn't have taken it. I respected the ANC. The very fact that I've said I remain a member of the ANC is a story of its own. Why would I do so? I thought I would go through a little bit of that so that when we come to this, we understand exactly what has happened. Firstly, a very funny president came in, very funny man, who came from the working class, as they call it, right? Whom today is always a mystery. How did he emerge up to becoming the president when there are people who had been there all the time? Are issues one day we might want to talk about. And I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about what made me to take a decision to leave the ANC. Not to leave it as a member, not to vote for it. Not to vote for it. And I made it very clear, even to them, that I'm remaining the ANC, but I'm not going to vote for the ANC. I'm going to vote for the new party, Umkhonto weSizwe Party, because they have deviated from the policies of the ANC in many respects, which, as I said, when I have time to write, I'll write to explain this for the sake of our history, because they moved away. But what is critical is that when it was difficult to do anything, I had no alternative but to continue to finish the liberation of our people. And that's what I decided to do. And I gave it a very serious thought, which at times our friends would not understand, not only outside of the African space or whatever, that in fact, it was very difficult. But people who might not have been with us, they wouldn't understand. Why will a man like Zuma, who was ready to die, who went to prison and did everything,
For the ANC.
for the ANC. But the ANC is an organization for the people of South Africa. If the ANC begins not to take attention seriously of the people of South Africa, then why are you there when you're not a leader? Because if I was still a leader, I would have said, okay, I'm now going this way. But I knew when I was a president, I was made to leave that office before I could finish, because those people who were doing that to me were clear that my being the president, I was quickening the process of changing or also implementing policies. And my comrades decided to conspire that I should leave before I finish, because I was messing up whatever that was in their minds. So it's not like something that happened now. And that's why if I talk about this, it's not a matter of just going over in not explaining what happened so that somebody will understand. Part of the reason, for an example, I said I would remain in ANC and I will fight, I will go to court as we are going to court. Because it was not the ANC I joined, it was not the people who died that I could have said, oh hell, with you guys, me, I'm gone. I had to remember them. I had to make what we took as decisions before to succeed. And therefore, the ANC, because if I say the ANC is now baba, and I will be, in fact, saying to the ancestors and everybody else, you were wrong. And I did not want to say that. I wanted to say, it is the leadership now that is wrong, not the first ones. I thought I could not take that, a very rich history, and just forget about it. I want to remain in the ANC, but the real ANC, not the false ANC. That is the reason why I said I'll remain, and I'm still going to go to court to defend my membership card. I was not forced to join the ANC. I joined it voluntarily. And I'm proud of the ANC of the old, not the Gogos. The Gogos, And I'm defending the ANC from the Gogos. And that's what I'm doing. I just wanted to put it in brief so that you understand it. It is therefore, it was not just a question of, I think I don't like the ANC. No, I love it. It's the best organization that I've joined in my life. I spend a lot of time, but I cannot allow it to be abused by people who are deviating from the policies. That's the reason why when I decided to have an organization, because I couldn't just go and sit down, I thought I should think very carefully. Even the name of the organization, Mkhonto Wesizwe, it has its own history, which will appear in my book the day you read it. Why it was important for the name, and why it resonates so well with the South African people. Because it tells the truth we know about the ANC and about those who died for the ANC. So, in a sense, people don't seem to understand how. I've been asked by my former colleagues in the continent who don't understand, because I did not shout this or say, now I'm doing this without knowing what I'm doing. How could you leave the ANC? And I've said, no, I left the rotten ANC. Very, 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 very funny. But the ANC I joined, that made us to liberate South Africa, I'm part of it. And therefore, I have a responsibility to correct the ANC, take it back where it is supposed to be, away from people who are not interested about where we need to arrive. That is the thing. I just thought I should explain these little ones at this point so that you don't worry to say why this happened. I tried my best. I can tell you more other details where I even sent a memorandum which was given by a branch in this province, asked me to do so because they were not listening. And I sent it, they acknowledged it, but just ignored it. So the reason why I established this party, and this party cannot go wrong, Mkhonto weSizwe, it's a well thought out party for a number of reasons that demonstrate how we, who were part of the ANC, understand the politics of this country and the ruling, the manner in which this country is ruled. It is absolutely critical. The ANC is no longer talking about what we used to talk about in the real ANC, about the people of South Africa. There is more starvation, more problems that you have, more poor people. There is no attempt to change the people, particularly the black people, so that they are part of a country that is rich, that is supposed to have everything, but they are deprived of that.
In his words, that was not all, because Jacob Zuma was also asked a question about the GNU, the Government of National Unity, which we all know that the ANC had to be associated with a different political party in South Africa politics in order for them to form this government of national unity. But unfortunately, Jacob Zuma, with his political party, they are not part of this so-called government of national unity. So Jacob Zuma have to come and give his reasons why he could not be part of this government of national unity. Secondly, also, how does he see this government of GNU?
You know, if you just look at the GNU, it tells you the whole history, that we are dealing with the ANC leadership that could no longer differentiate between the oppressor and the oppressed, because it is a fact. Precisely because of Mkhonto weSizwe, which had more votes than anybody else, and that is still in court to deal with it. You had a situation where members, revolutionaries, believers on the liberation of a black person. And we could look into what is happening here in this country. The economy, you can count them by fingers, few fingers, black people who are big business people. It is all white. In 30 years, you can count them a few. We still suffer in many ways. And we go from elections to elections. There's almost a pretense that everything is well. Even when we say we are going for elections, we are no longer talking about the actual things that affects black people. And when there is almost like numbers are almost like together, and you want to change who will help one party to increase her numbers, and those revolutionaries go to reactionaries to say, let us be together and have the government of national unity. What are you uniting? What are you governing?
With the DA.
With the DA. DA has been the opposition all the time. The ANC move to join them, leave everybody else who's suffering. That tells you how much they are no longer caring of the poor white, poor black, who still need to be freed. It tells you the story. What is worse, the DA actually says it in public. This is not like a government of national unity. It's a government of between the two, ANC and them. Simple. That was just done to wipe off people from thinking this is serious. That actually worsens the situation. There are many people who are leaving that organization because of DA. Because DA is part of what oppressed us for many years. Just switched a little bit when we're here in a nice name, Democratic Party, I don't know what it is.
Alliance.
Alliance, whatever. That in itself must be telling somebody who can think that this is a fast. It's not the real thing. It's not there. People who are there are finding a way out, the way out. Because DA is DA, he's doing his own. Mlungper, it's a white fellow. In fact, it is, in my view, a disappointing thing. Because you take those people, they know nothing about how you work for democracy or whatever. And they represent us all over the world. We who disagree with them a great deal, we now disagree with ANC. Totally disagree. Decision that they took, it's not a decision which represents us as the majority. It represents them, a black minority working with the whites. It's not us. That is why it is our wish that our friends out there who knew the ANC and knew us, who are now in the Umkhonto weSizwe, must be looking very carefully and be sure that they get the information. Because the fact that people say we are free, I don't know how much we are free in South Africa. I can tell you the long story about this country, that there's nothing that has changed. If yes, very little. The people who were being put in the rural areas, starving, our freedom just allowed them to come to town, to be even worse. They live in things that you can't want to live there. It was even better because the quantity of that was not there before freedom. Yes, there were small little dokies where people were sitting, blah, 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 but they were smaller. After freedom, there is more in town. The visible of starving is more than when we're free, in terms of the numbers in the cities, etc. So people can decide to mislead people or whatever, but the reality is that we are in trouble. And we, some of us, cannot wait for that. We want freedom that is full freedom to black and white, to everybody in South Africa.
I did not want to interrupt you as you are watching this interview because I want you to listen to what former President of the Republic of South Africa, President Zuma, had to say about the current situations of South Africa politics and what had happened and what could be his vision for South Africans. Well, with that being said now, I think we need now to try to analyze through his own words of what Jacob Zuma had said so far through this interview. Guys, before I get to give you my opinions or commenting on what former President Jacob Zuma had said, I want us first to have to be more honest with one another by trying to understand exactly how did the things get to this point. Because in order for us to tell the history, we need first to understand exactly what did happen, so that we can be able now to have a closure or a conclusions in whatsoever could be the problem. Well, we all know that Jacob Zuma has been a member of the ANC for so many years. But Jacob Zuma, he was no longer a member of the ANC, not because they have expelled him from the ANC, but because they were already within fighting which was ongoing for some times now within the ANC. And for those who've been watching me for some times, you'll agree with me that I have said it before that the only reasons which end up breaking the deal between the Jacob Zuma and the entire ANC governing body, it is for the moment when they had to ask Jacob Zuma to leave the office as the president of South Africa in order for them to replace him with someone else. But there were a kind of negotiation which took place behind closed door. And one of the agreement which the ANC members back then who had to go and convince Jacob Zuma in order for him to leave the office was for them to assure him that they were going exactly to protect him and make sure that Jacob Zuma should not be pursued inside the court, and they were going to give him a role within the ANC so that he can continue having his political activities, as we get to see with former President Thabo Mbeki and Kgalema Motlanthe. All these people, they're having different activities within the ANC, even outside of the country as South Africans. But unfortunately, that was not the case, because we later then saw how Jacob Zuma was being crucified by the ANC. They lashed him in the hands of the courts. And we all know the motivation of people who want to see Jacob Zuma behind jail. And these people, the former colonials, people who are receiving the orders from the Westerns, people who actually have understood that in order for us to continue looting from South African minerals, in order for us to continue benefiting from South Africa economy, we need to take off people such as Jacob Zuma, because they are kind of like a distractions, or should I say an obstacle in our ways. So we need to take them out. And they were not only doing that, but they were also doing that with a spirit of revenge of what Jacob Zuma have done to them back in days. So these people, they had seen this as an opportunity, because as the new leadership of the ANC, they were coming in power. Well, they had also to negotiate, because remember, that's what is happening almost everywhere in Africa countries, besides in Sahel regions, where we get to see African leaders who at least they have the courage to say no to whatsoever the Western they are trying to impose on them. So in the case of South Africa politics, these people, yes, we can go to the elections, we can vote whoever we want to vote, but there is a kind of a certain kind of agreement or deals that they usually have with these presidents behind closed doors, in order for them to protect the minority of white South Africans who are in possession of South African economy. That's the facts, and we're not making this up. So in order to do that, these people, they usually negotiate with the leadership of South Africa, like to tell them that, okay, no, you are allowed to do 1, 2, 3, 4, but don't do 1, 2, 3, 4. You are allowed to say this, but don't say this. You are allowed to touch this, but don't touch that. This is how it's been happening for all these years. Proof to that, that's why we're having opposition political parties such as the EFF and other opposition political parties in South Africa who are standing against this kind of leadership in the ANC, because they believe that these people, they kind of like prioritizing the minority of white South Africans. Now, in order for them to at least continue to controlling whoever comes from the ANC, they need to take off people such as Jacob Zuma out of their ways. And one of the agreements was to tell the leadership of the ANC back then that you should not get interfere. Wash your hands and stay out of this if you guys still want to be in power. Let Zuma defend himself in court, because we know how we're gonna get him there. And we all know what happened. We saw Jacob Zuma up and down inside the court, even though there were some ANC loyal member to Jacob Zuma who had to come outside of the court and support Jacob Zuma. Well, all this was going in vain, because later on we saw the ANC making an announcement saying that from now on, every ANC member who have the justice or court's appearance, they should not be supported by anyone, and they don't want to see any ANC member outside of the court singing or supporting a certain kind of individuals. So, story short, Jacob Zuma was left alone. Jacob Zuma was sacrificed. He remained that way. That was something which Jacob Zuma did not accept it as well as an individual. He considered that as a betrayal. Seeing him being arrested, seeing him being abandoned by the ANC, who could not be able to protect whatsoever they had agreed before he left the office as the head of the state. That was a very big betrayal. And me personally, I believe it was not only betrayal to someone such as Jacob Zuma, but I believe it is a betrayal to anyone out there. So for that reason, that is when serious conflict started between Jacob Zuma and the ANC. It then first started calling it the ANC of Cyril Ramaphosa, because you could see that Cyril Ramaphosa, who used to be his deputy president back then, he had betrayed him. He betrayed him to the point of that he could not be able to protect him. You then saw Jacob Zuma start accusing Cyril Ramaphosa, saying that no, he's not doing his job. He's supposed to be protecting me. Since he failed to do his job, I'm gonna take him to court. He did so. He took President Ramaphosa to court, but that case it was disqualified because of lack of the evidence. Well, since then things were no longer the same. When the Phala matters raised in South Africa, where current president of South Africa, President Cyril Ramaphosa, was being accused of having some illegal money in his mattress at home. Well, we saw Zuma coming, instead of defending his fellow ANC comrade, but he had to come and expose President Ramaphosa even more further, of saying that whatsoever President Ramaphosa have done, it is violating the constitutional right, because as a president, you're supposed not to be running another business aside. He exposed President Ramaphosa over that. That's just to show you on how the ANC, they've been having serious conflict within the leadership. So Jacob Zuma was trying to find a way out to revolt the other ANC members against the leadership of President Ramaphosa and those who surround him. But unfortunately, that did not just go easy. He did so. He tried to poison the mind of different members of the ANC. For an example, in the previous ANC elections, which took place the 55th Congress, if I'm not mistaken, where President Ramaphosa was being re-elected again as the president of the ANC. We also how Jacob Zuma sabotaged the current president of ANC, President Cyril Ramaphosa, by coming to this Congress late when Ramaphosa was busy giving the speech. And Jacob Zuma, he shows up there where he had his own people who were now busy chanting, pressing him and criticizing President Ramaphosa. We all know that the ANC went to these elections divided. They were no longer united as that ANC of Nelson Mandela or Oliver Tambo. So that was a way of Jacob Zuma trying to say that if you guys don't reconcile with me, I'm going to revolt many members of the ANC, and then this ANC is going to be something else. But unfortunately, the ANC, the leadership of the ANC, they could not take him serious, because for them, they were just seeing him like one of those ANC members who are finished products, like they are no longer having impact. They forgot to tell that Jacob Zuma is an influencer, is a man who is being considered somewhere there as a traditional leader, a man whom, if he says something, they listen to him. He can influence the youth or even grown people. They took him lightly, and later on we saw Jacob Zuma coming out and announce that he's no longer going to vote for the ANC, but is going to vote for a new political party. And it was a surprise to see that this so-called new political party Jacob Zuma was talking about, it was the MK political party. So when he had to vote for the MK political party, that is when they decided to go ahead and expel him from the ANC, because the ANC now, they had to lose a lot of voters all over around the country, because these voters, they did not want to vote for the ANC anymore. They were now found between two political parties, which is the one belongs to Jacob Zuma and another one belongs to their so-called beloved ANC. So now they make a choice to go and vote for the Mkhonto weZizwe political party. So this left the ANC without not having a majority, and the ANC, they could not take it lightly. They got so angry and they end up expelling Jacob Zuma from their political party. But how can you go and expel someone who consider himself as the ANC. Jacob Zuma said, I quote, I am the ANC and I will die in the ANC. Even after they had expelled him from the ANC, Jacob Zuma still considered himself as the ANC member, yet he's having his own political party. What does that mean? Well, I'll elaborate more about it in a short. But let's just go back to the question which I asked. How can you expel someone who considers himself that is that political party? That is also one of the mistakes which the ANC they have made. Now, Jacob Zuma is now on the Mkhonto political party with one mission, which is now to destroy this so-called ANC of Bogogo, this so-called ANC of Cyril Ramaphosa, because he still believes that is the ANC and is gonna die the member of the ANC. Now, he need to destroy this so-called leadership of the ANC, which is there at the moment. If he succeeds to do so, then obviously maybe it's going to remove the name of Mkhonto political party and replace it with the ANC, because the whole purpose here in all this is for him to be back again with that leadership. He wants to be in charge, he wants to be on top of everything. Okay, whether we like it or not, that is the whole purpose of this old man here. There's no such a thing of saying that no, we are here because we are the solution to this and that. No, because there's a lot already being said already. You heard Jacob Zuma in the footage which I played for you on how he condemned other ANC members who have left the ANC and they start criticizing the ANC from the outside. Jacob Zuma, as a former president of the ANC back then, who had to come and remind them that no, if the ANC is being destroyed, if the ANC is being killed, it is because of their leadership. These people who are now outside criticizing the ANC from the outside, they're the one who had betrayed or destroyed the ANC. So therefore, these people, they should not come and tell us or teach us a lesson. Okay, fine, we understand that. But isn't it this is the same thing as well? Because Jacob Zuma used to be the leader of the ANC. Jacob Zuma used to be the president of South Africa. So if there is anything which he can also accuse or reproach the current leadership of the ANC, well, which means him also he contributes to that. If he said that this ANC is of grown people, Bogogo, which means him also he participates in that. That is the fact, because you can't accuse other people, say things about them, and when now it is your turn, you want to change the speech. Let us be fair enough on this one. He criticized those who left the ANC, and he said that they have destroyed the ANC. So now today, him also is no longer in the ANC, but is outside the ANC, and he keep on criticizing the ANC. Well, which means him also he contribute to that, because maybe you might say that I'm exaggerating in what I'm saying, but there is a lot already which is being said out there. For an example, like when they are saying that under the leadership of the former president Jacob Zuma, he failed to do certain things which supposed to make him be a hero to South Africans. For example, the problem of land, for example, the problem of a free education, and so many couple of things which Jacob Zuma, under his leadership, not only as the ANC leadership, but the president of South Africa, he did not succeed with all that. He's also being accused of the same thing. So the truth here is that the conflict between the ANC and the MK party, or should I say Jacob Zuma, it is because there is a certain kind of betrayal which took place before Jacob Zuma left the office. There is a certain kind of agreement which Jacob Zuma had agreed with the leadership of the ANC back then. In order for them to convince him to leave the office, they have things which they have told him. And unfortunately, they do not respect that. Jacob Zuma, who's supposed to be having his second term before he stepped out as the president of South Africa, he was forced, not by his own willing, but by the same people who wanted to destroy Jacob Zuma so badly, to leave the office, and they had to go and convince the ANC so that they can also talk to Jacob Zuma and leave the power. Now that Jacob Zuma he accepted to leave the power, the next things he end up finding himself being betrayed, being isolated from everyone, and he have to experience a jail in the grown age. So this kind of betrayal, obviously, it is something which did not sit okay with him, because the man, he still have that envy, he still wish to be a leader, he still want to be a president. Now it's like they went and stopped him from his political activities before his time, or before he had made up his mind. That is where the true problem is seated. Now, when Jacob Zuma comes and criticizes the government of national unity between the ANC and the MK party, that one, I totally agree with him on that one, 100%. I have said it before, and I can even repeat myself, because until today, I still don't understand why the ANC, they can leave such political party as the EFF, as the MK party, and this other true South Africa political party, such as a Kusautu or this other political party that we all know, in order for them to go and put their power together with the DA, after all these things that is being said. And the DA on their side, they never hide their plans. And their plan is well known out there, which is to destroy the unity of black South Africans. As I always tell you guys, that these people, one of their big weapons that they are using against Africans is to make sure that Africans, they should not be united. It is to make sure that there must always be conflict among Africans. Once we are separate, that is how they get to succeed. Once we are divided, that is how they manage to continue controlling us and our economy, even our mineral resources. And the DA, they had applied that strategy. I'm not making this up. The DA had said it before, that there is no way we'll allow the unity between ANC and the EFF, or even the MK political party. John Stenizen had said these words.
And today, I publicly declare Julius Malema's EFF to be political enemy number one of the Democratic Alliance. And I commit the DA to fight back against the EFF at every turn, with the ultimate aim of defeating the Doomsday Coalition that could seal South Africa's fate next year. This is no longer about politics, Democrats. It's about the survival of democracy and the survival of South Africa. Make no mistake, the EFF is its enemy. The EFF Doomsday Coalition will expropriate property without compensation and abolish private property rights. The EFF Doomsday Coalition will nationalize and destroy foreign banks, investments, mines, and other investments in the country. Let me tell you, EFF Doomsday will make the collapse of Zimbabwe look like a dress rehearsal. And it will leave all South Africans, black, colored, white, and Indian, completely destitute and abandoned. Throughout this period of this leadership campaign, I have reflected deeply upon the risk of the EFF coming to power.
And it was very clear. He wanted to make sure that there is no way we'll allow these people, because if we allow them to be united, well, he gives his reasons. He says that no, they'll take away the land, they'll do this, they'll do that. But come to think of it, is it within their right for them to do so or not? That's another capital question, which each one of us need to be asking. Does South Africans deserve to take back their land, yes or not? If it's the case, if it is not yes, then that's another question. But if it is true that they deserve to take back their land, then why not doing this? Well, they're not doing it because they know very well that they will have to lose a lot, because they still want to be in charge of many things, because they still want to have the last word to say, because they still want to make sure that South Africa is not united, but South Africa, it is two countries which is sitting in one land, whereby the minority are the one who are in possession of all this. Guys, it is very important to know that the DA, they knew what they were doing. So it is very surprised to see Jacob Zuma going to sit at the same place with the same people who have done so much bad things to South Africans. And this so-called the ANC political party, which Jacob Zuma had fought for, seeing them to go and become allies to the DA, it is what Jacob Zuma considered as a big betrayal. And that is something I believe most of South Africans out there, they believe in it. Us here, we have said it before that even if though they succeed to isolate themselves from the EFF and the MK political parties, the Black South African political party, in order for them to be with the ANC and continue controlling the ANC, well, there won't be nothing good that will come out from all this. When we say so, it's because we knew that that is what's going to happen. And today, you guys, you can all see what is happening between the DA and the ANC. It's all about them fighting over the leadership. This one will say this, another one will come and contradict another person. So now you understand why Jacob Zuma had to say all these harsh words when it comes to the ANC. Now you understand why the Jacob Zuma had to try to criticize ANC in each every opportunity that he gets, because there is a kind of betrayal which had took place. And as I explained, the betrayal which there is a group of people who want to destroy Jacob Zuma so badly, and they end up convincing the ANC which is supposed to protect the Jacob Zuma, they end up let go of the Jacob Zuma. And Jacob Zuma had to experience all these things. Now the next thing, Jacob Zuma is seeing these same people associating with the same enemy of yesterday. That is why you see Jacob Zuma believe that there's nothing good that will come from the ANC right now. He believed that it will come from him. Well, again, it is how politics works. It's all about me being good than anyone else. So I believe that is it, guys. Now that we have this conversation with you, we really do looking forward to see what can be also your opinions on what Jacob Zuma have said through this interview. So we're looking forward to see your thoughts on this one. Comment in the comments section below. Tell us what you think that could be the main reasons why Jacob Zuma have this kind of grudges against the ANC. And he had to go to the point of calling the ANC of Bogogo and the ANC of Cyril Ramaphosa. Those are very harsh words to what the ANC political members. So we're looking forward to that. But above all, don't leave this video without you giving us your thumbs up. Like this video, especially if you find something very beneficial or informative in this video. We are begging you to like this video in your numbers. We really do appreciate that. Feel free to join this big family of Pan-Africans by subscribing to the channel, so that whenever we are here to talk matters that are concerning Africa continent and Africans in diasporas, you'll be part of us. Well, I believe that will be all for now. Continue to be yourself, be good, be kind, have respect for everyone in order for you to be respected. May God bless you all. I'll see you again very soon in our next video. Ciao, ciao.